A very good morning to you, dear listener, and welcome to Perspectives, a current affairs discussion program on iGate Radio 95.5 Star FM Makode. Today, Monday, May 19, 2025. This edition of Perspectives, our discussion is focused on sensitization on hypertension and cardiovascular health. World Hypertension Day was observed over the weekend, precisely on Saturday, May 17, and it's also it's a global observance on that day. It's promoted by the World Hypertension League, and the day is set aside to raise awareness and promote prevention about hypertension detection and early control. And according to the World Health Organization, more than 1 billion people around the world live with hypertension, which is commonly referred to as high blood pressure, which is a major cause of cardiovascular disease and pretty much largely due to increased risk factors in those populations around the world. And according to the World Health Organization, to achieve global target to reduce the prevalence of hypertension by 25% by this year, the World Health Organization states that the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention launched this global campaign to promote initiatives of this reduction. And today we have chosen as our corporate social responsibility to focus on ways through which hypertension, which is said to be a leading contributor to premature mortality from heart-related attacks and strokes, especially also here around our region, how it can be curtailed. What are the risk factors and what are the preventive ways we can adapt as people, especially in these times of economic austerity where people seem to be going through a lot, and maybe situations like this are prone. Also in the country, we have heard reports of people slumping and dying. What are the responsible factors? Are they related to cardiovascular issues? Are they related to high blood pressure or heart attacks, as it is also commonly referred? These are the issues which I try to interrogate and sensitize you on today's edition of the program. I'm joined here in the studio by 3 experts who will offer insights on this subject matter. First, Dr. Patrick Idoko is a consultant cardiologist at the Federal Medical Center, and he has joined us on this edition to offer insights on the program. Thank you very much, Dr. Idoko, for joining us, and welcome to Perspectives.
Thank you very much for having me.
We also have a consultant family physician at the Benue State University Teaching Hospital, Makode, Dr. Grace Atokolo. Dr. Atokolo, thank you for joining us on Perspectives. Good to have you here.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
We also have on the program another consultant family physician at the Federal Medical Center, Makode, Dr. Doshima Amai. Thank you, Doctor. Welcome to Perspectives.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right. My name is Nathaniel Nongo, welcoming you to this Monday edition of Perspectives, and it's because iGate Radio cares about your health that we have chosen to bring you this edition. And if this may be your first time tuning into Perspectives, be informed that it is usually an audience participatory program. And at 10 o'clock, we allow you, the listener, to call in and offer your insights or even ask questions on the subject we are discussing. The number through which you can reach us on the program at 10 o'clock is 0814-335-9292. Again, I take the number 0814-335-9292. Meanwhile, the SMS line is also available and is dedicated for you to contribute through text 0912-699-9404. The line, once again, is 0912-699-9404. It's available on WhatsApp as well. You may log on to our website on www.iGateRadioTV.com, where you listen to us and access other content of iGate Radio as well. We're available on Radio Garden and on social media platforms where our content is streaming. You may also download the iGate Radio and TV app from Google Play Store or Apple Store. And this is a one-stop app which provides you the platforms of our television online, the radio, as well as newspaper. We're available on all these platforms to serve you beyond boundaries. Kindly join us to be a part of this discussion and every other program of iGate Radio. We'll take a short breather, and once we are back, our engagement will begin. Please don't go away. Kindly stay with us. Begin with you, Dr. Idoko. Commonly we hear about hypertension, but what is hypertension from a medical point of view?
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me here. We were here last year, and this year again we are here. So some persons might say, don't these people get tired of talking about hypertension? Every year, all the time, hypertension.
Yes.
So it's important to talk about it, and that's why every year, for 20 years now, they've been celebrating, or rather, was when the World League for Hypertension started the World Hypertension Day, and this year is the 20th anniversary of World Hypertension Day. It's important to talk about hypertension. I'm sure maybe later in the line we'll talk about the burden. You have talked about the burden already of hypertension. So hypertension, or high blood pressure, like it's commonly said around here, is when there's sustained elevation in blood pressure. So usually when you check your blood pressure, there are two values. We have the systolic blood pressure, or the number that is up, and we have the diastolic blood pressure, or the number that is down. So or generally, the European Society of Cardiology and the World Health Organization, the Americans have a lower number for that. So when there's sustained elevation in blood pressure, both the systolic or the diastolic, or either of the two, then you say the patient has hypertension. And usually when your blood pressure is sustainedly elevated, then you are at increased risk of having a stroke, a heart attack, kidney disease, sudden death, visual problems, and even peripheral artery disease, which can lead to amputations. So that's why it's important to ensure that your blood pressure is within normal. But when it's elevated on 2 or more occasions, then we say the patient has hypertension or high blood pressure.
All right. Now, Dr. Atokolo, get to some of the things in letting us know what hypertension is that your colleague pointed out, the sustained elevation and the resultant effects. Talk to us about what results from hypertension more. Some of the complications your colleague
some of
pointed
the causes of hypertension. Actually, the cause of hypertension majorly is not known, but we have risk factors.
Okay.
Risk factors are what can make a person predisposed to having hypertension. Now we have the modifiable and the non-modifiable risk factors. The non-modifiable risk factors include age, sex of the individual, which is more common in males. Even the race is more common in blacks. So being a black person already predisposes you to having high blood pressure. Then you also have, and I said age. Age usually is more in the older population, though you can have hypertension even in younger people. Then also the family history. Having a family history, anybody in your family with hypertension also predisposes a person to having high blood pressure. Then the modifiable risk factors are what you have, like being overweight, and that is consuming things like alcohol, taking tobacco, and other stimulants, and and being inactive. That is, no activity or living a sedentary life also predisposes you to having hypertension, as well as other cardiovascular risk factors.
Okay. Now, Dr. Amai, the theme for the observance this year talks about measure your blood pressure accurately, control it, live longer. Talk to us about the significance of this theme in the context of the observance of World Hypertension Day this year.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, listeners, and thank you for having me once again. It is important for us to know our numbers because it is the major step of preventing the hypertension. Checking our blood pressure at least twice in a year, especially for those who are not hypertensive, is a watch word for us in order to prevent. Once it's setting in, we are aware, and then we'll be able to control. The theme for this year is to help us, to appraise us, to keep us informed with ways of improving our health in terms of high blood pressure. Having the knowledge, having the information about it will help us. Because that is being aware of what high blood pressure is, will help us to control better. It shows us that we can live without high blood pressure, and even if we have, we can control it to the level that there won't be side effects. As we are celebrating, rather informing ourselves that for the past 20 years, we need to echo more on hypertension to prevent it. That is why this theme has come. For every adult especially, we encourage you at least check your blood pressure twice in a year. It can be more, but at least twice in a year. Keep fit. Enjoy good diet that is low in salt and fat. More of vegetables and fruits. Be physically active, that is exercise, taking more steps than living a sedentary lifestyle. Thank you.
All right. Now, Dr. Idoko, in your background earlier, you mentioned some of the complications that hypertension could result to. But I would like you to simplify it in terms of the particular risk factors that contribute to those complications that may result from hypertension.
Okay. Well, there can never be an overemphasis when you're talking about hypertension.
Yes.
So generally, we're giving a background from what I have said. You started first, and you gave a very detailed background. I was wondering how you came about the whole information. I said, oh, this one must have done a lot of background search. And then she talked about causes. She talked about what we can do. So somehow we've had a bird's eye view of almost everything we're supposed to talk about.
Yes.
And I just want to reiterate again that the theme for this year and the theme for last year, they are the same. Maybe,
I noticed.
And even the theme for the year before. So it's almost the same theme every year. You might say that, why? That if I run out of themes. But because it is important, very important. So cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death worldwide. Every year there are 18 million deaths from cardiovascular disease. At the height of HIV/AIDS, there were 2.2 million deaths every year from HIV. And you see the whole noise, not noise now, the whole pressure, information about HIV/AIDS. But now this is something that is killing 18 million people every year, which is a lot. We are not making as much, what I call it, I don't want to use noise because it's not noise, it's a good noise this time, it's a pleasant noise. We're not making as much like was done for HIV/AIDS. So of these 18 million deaths every year, majority of them is caused by hypertension. In fact, hypertension is the leading cause of death worldwide. It kills more than everything, more than terrorism, more than infectious diseases combined together. It kills more than that. So you see, it's very important. And so, if it is a leading cause of death worldwide, it means that if you address it, you are going to prolong lives. It's a leading cause of premature death worldwide. So if you address it, people will live longer because it is what's causing premature death more commonly. So, but then you have to know whether you have high blood pressure first. So that's why you measure it. Measure your blood pressure accurately, because there are times you can measure your blood pressure and it's not accurate because you probably did not take a 5 minutes rest, or you just rushed in and you want to check your blood pressure, or you are trying to measure your blood pressure and you are answering calls or making calls, but you are not properly seated, so the number will not be correct, and it's important to get the number correctly. So it's important, measure your blood pressure accurately. Then control it. You have to control it. You have to use non-pharmacologic methods, which she has talked about, exercise, diet, alcohol, she talked about. You have to do all that, non-pharmacologic. And then you have to do the pharmacologic things, which are medications that you use to control the blood pressure. It's not important to know. It is also important to have it controlled. And when you control it, you will now prolong lives. Why will you prolong life? Because it's a leading cause of death worldwide, and because there are complications that can result from it. So number one complication, stroke, is one of the complications. And in stroke, every year there are 15 million people that have stroke worldwide. And out of these 15 million, 5 million will die. And 5 million would have permanent disability, and 5 million will recover. So if you control blood pressure, that can cause, which is a leading cause of stroke, they are going to save at least about 5 million lives. So you are going to prolong lives, you are going to save lives. And that's one of the important complications. And I'm sure a lot of people see people who have stroke, where there's weakness on one side of the body. People say something like partial stroke. There's nothing like partial stroke, because stroke usually affects one side of the body. So if there's weakness on one side of your body, you cannot move the hand, you cannot move the leg, or your face is deviated to the side, then you already have a stroke. It's not a partial stroke, it's a full stroke. And usually 9 out of 10 people, it's hypertension that will cause it. Another thing that can come from it is heart failure, where people are not able to breathe well, or their legs will swell up, or they move a little and they are tired. It's another complication of hypertension. And hypertension is the commonest cause in this environment. And if you control hypertension, then you are able to address that. Another thing is heart attack or myocardial infarction. That's another complication which can arise from uncontrolled blood pressure. In advanced countries, it's the leading cause of death and cardiac disease. But in our own place, hypertension is still the leading cause. And even at that, hypertension causes heart attack, myocardial infarction, and all that. So if you control hypertension, then you have less and less of that. Then kidney disease, chronic kidney disease, a very sad condition. Why is it sad? It's sad because eventually your kidney fails, and the patient has to exhaust the finances of the whole family and extended family, and eventually they still die without transplant. So it's a sad situation. One of my professors would say that chronic kidney disease is a sure route to poverty. So that's another complication from hypertension. Eye disease, you might not see well. Some people will lose their leg because of peripheral vascular disease. Those are all complications that can arise from hypertension. Arrhythmias, abnormal heartbeats, and then sudden death, of course. There's hardly anybody that has not known or heard about somebody who went to bed and didn't wake up, or somebody who just went to the market or the office and slumped, and they'll say, oh, the person is due for promotion, that's why they killed the person. It's not. Majority of premature deaths, majority of cardiovascular deaths are potentially preventable. All those deaths are cardiovascular deaths, and it's wasting a lot of people, making families, it changes destinies of people. So a man who has 3 children, he dies, and his siblings are also struggling with their own children, they cannot take care of them. The destinies of those children have been changed. So hypertension, as little as it may sound, high blood pressure, as little as it may sound, is a silent killer, unfortunately. You might have it and you don't feel anything. If we just raise awareness, increase awareness, pay attention to it, then we'll save a lot of lives. We'll say our people will live longer. So that's why last year and the year before and this year, they are still insisting, measure your blood pressure accurately, control it, and live longer. And we have to do all that. So I'm taking a lot more time, because of the 1.5 billion people that have hypertension worldwide, only half of them know that they have hypertension. And of those half who know they have hypertension, less than half of them are on treatment. And of those who are on treatment, even in the best of centers, only less than 20% have good control of their blood pressure. And if you do not control your blood pressure, even if you know about it, even if you are taking drugs and it's not controlled, the risk of complications are still there. So that is why it is important to state and restate and re-emphasize and continue to emphasize, and probably next year we'll be back here again talking about measuring your blood pressure accurately, controlling it so that you can live longer.
All right. Now, Dr. Atokolo, talk to us on how prevalent hypertension is in our communities locally here, and what are the implications for public health.
Hypertension, it's as he said, is very prevalent in our environment. About 35% of individuals in our environment have been seen to have high blood pressure. And of this number, as he said, about 46% don't even know that they have high blood pressure. As he said, high blood pressure is a silent killer. This is because individuals do not have any sign, what we call symptoms. They don't have any symptoms that they have a high blood pressure. That's why it's called a silent killer, because it will continue to progress until the person begins to come down with the complications in which he had mentioned. And the person didn't even know he had high blood pressure before. Of course, different myths will come about for the cause of the person's complication, either a stroke or heart attack or sudden death. So high blood pressure in the environment is very prevalent. And this is the reason why, you see, we keep coming here every year to talk about high blood pressure, because it cannot be oversized. As it is a silent killer, there is no sign. So unless you go and check your blood pressure, you can never know whether you have hypertension or not. It's only after you check your blood pressure that you'll be able to know your numbers, that you'll be able to know if you have hypertension or not, so you can be able to control it and live longer.
Beautiful. Now, Dr. Amai, what are the common symptoms of hypertension, and how can they be identified early enough to control?
Yes, hypertension doesn't really have specific symptoms. But when the blood pressure is very high, some come complaining of, or rather notice headache, some dizziness, blood vision. You can't say these are the symptoms of hypertension, but these are some of the features one can notice. And then restlessness, tiredness, poor sleep, or inability to have a good sleep. And so many other vague symptoms that are not specific. But these symptoms only set in when the blood pressure is very high. Somebody with a blood pressure of 140, 100/90, or 159, some may not even experience anything. And that is why some slump, even with a very high blood pressure that has been there. They wouldn't know that they are carrying something on, a time bomb with them, and then they slump. Some present with a pain in the heart. You see them complaining that they are having this pain in the heart. Some will tell you that their heart is beating fast. Some will complain of a difficulty in breathing. So there are several symptoms, but you can't say these are specific symptoms that are associated with hypertension. That is why it is known as a silent killer. It comes without a knock. It gets in, stay with you, romance with you, you feel you're okay, not knowing that there's a time bomb hiding somewhere on your head. That's why it's known as a silent killer.
All right. Dear listener, if you are just tuning in, you are listening to Perspectives on Agate Radio 95.5 Star FM Makudi. Our discussion this morning is focused on sensitization on hypertension and cardiovascular health. This is in line with the World Hypertension Day, which was observed over the weekend. And we have a team of doctors here in the studio who are giving us this sensitization. At 10 o'clock, you can call in on the program to contribute or ask questions where relevant. The number to reach us on the program is 0814-335-9292. Again, I take the number 0814-335-9292. Meanwhile, the SMS line is already activated for you to contribute through text, and that line is 0912-699-9404. Let me take it again, 0912-699-9404. It's also available on WhatsApp. Please remember to include your full name and the address where you are sending your message from. Now, Dr. Idoko, from the point of view of a cardiologist, talk to us on ways of lifestyle changes or modifications to prevent hypertension?
All right, yeah. So it is said that life is nature and nurture. There are things you can do that can contribute to the circumstances, and there are some things you cannot modify. So life is nature and nurture, and cardiovascular risk is modifiable and non-modifiable.
All right.
So there's nothing you can do about the fact that you're aging. So you're aging, you can't do much about that. You have family history of people who have cardiovascular disease, hypertension, you can't do anything about that. So your risk is already high. So you have to keep checking. But are there things that can be done at all? Yes, there are lots that can be done that can help with preventing and managing hypertension. We've touched on them during the course of our discussion, but
Yes.
just to reiterate again. So one of the leading things is physical inactivity. So people would need to, we are in a generation of sedentary lifestyle. So we are very sedentary. We sit down from morning till night. We are all guilty. I am guilty. So I can sit down seeing patients for hours, non-stop. So before now, people were very active. They could trek from here to maybe say Otuko, but not anymore. From your house to this, everything you are driving. So we need to be more physically active. We need to exercise more. So the recommendation is that you should do 150 minutes every week. That's about 30 minutes, 5 days in a week. 30 times 5 will be 150. So people, we should exercise. We should exercise brisk walking. Brisk walking is you're walking and you're trying to catch your breath. So it increases your heart rate and your respiratory rate, and that helps to reduce your blood pressure. So physical activity is all we should encourage. We should encourage people to take more steps. So at least if you take up to 4,000 steps a day, then your risk of dying prematurely will be reduced by 15%, and another 15% for every 1,000 steps in addition to the 4,000 steps. So a lot of phones these days have step counters, and we can use it to track how many steps we are taking, which can help in addition to physical exercise. So physical exercise will reduce your pressure by about 5 to 10 millimeters of mercury. So we should do that. Diet. So we should take more fruits and more vegetables. It's what we call the dietary approach to stopping hypertension, or the DASH diet. And the people who live around the Mediterranean areas, they have that type of diet. Low calorie, low fat, low salt, low sugar diet, which is high in fruits, veggies, and less animal protein. So it does help. Diet will help also. But our diet here is pounded yam and washed down with alcohol, and so much high calorie, high fat diet.
We're not trying to demarket pounded yam anyway.
We are not, I'm not demarketing it. We're just saying that we have to look at our diet.
Yes.
And then we have to look at the portion too. So at times we eat ourselves to death. So as you age, you try to reduce the amount of calories that you take. So if you are taking in excess of what you need, then you keep adding weight, and it affects your blood pressure also. So some persons will say, oh, I'm not eating much, but I'm adding weight. You're not eating much, but what you're eating, you're not using it. So when you come back and you eat at 10 p.m. and you just go to bed, what have you used out of it? Nothing. So the excess goes into your weight and affects your blood pressure. So there has to be a calorie balance. What you use, what you take in, and what you use. If you take in more, then you need to exercise a lot more. So portion control is important. And then, of course, activity level we've talked about. Alcohol, we have to cut down alcohol. So if a man is taking more than, before now, it used to be 21 units of alcohol for men in a week, a significant level, and women 14 units in a week, a significant level. But now it's the same for both men and women. 14 units per week, if you are taking more than that, it's significant alcohol use. And 14 units is like 5 bottles of beer. A bottle of beer is about 3 units. If you're taking spirits, then it is more. So we have to cut down alcohol levels. People have to cut down. There's a lot of alcohol that is taken around here, and even Plateau, where I spent most of my time. People take a lot of alcohol, so it can help. It can increase your blood pressure, but you have to cut down alcohol. And for those who have heart disease already, you have to stop alcohol, especially those ones coming from alcohol. Smoking, you have to stop smoking. So they say that if you use alcohol, you may have problems. But if you smoke, you must have problems. You will have problems. That's why they change it from Federal Ministry of Health, ones that tobacco smoking is dangerous to health. They change it to ones that smokers are liable to die young. Because if you smoke, you will have problems. Cancers, airway problems, cardiovascular problems, you will have that. So stress levels also. So we're talking about prevention, things you can do. So stress levels also. This is a very stressful period for everybody. The country is tough. Life is hard. Things are very expensive. Salaries are very poor. I see government workers whose pay is 30,000 naira. For crying out loud, 30,000. What can you do with it? He can't pay school fees. He cannot give you food. He cannot get you fuel, if at all. You can't even build. You can't do anything. So that mind, that stress is there. That stress is on your mind, the mental stress. It increases stress hormones, and your blood pressure goes up. So somehow, it's not just the individual that has to help in preventing hypertension, but the government, the economy has a role to play in reducing stress and blood pressure. In fact, it's said that about a million strokes every year is directly related to stress. So people will need to manage their stress levels. The government will have to help us to manage our stress levels, and people have to sleep more. If you're able to sleep, it helps to reduce, at least helps to reduce the hypertension and all that. If you don't sleep well, then your blood pressure can be at risk. So, but then there's a cycle between blood pressure and sleep. So your blood pressure goes up, you're not able to sleep, and you're not sleeping well, your blood pressure goes up, so that cycle continues. So yeah, so those are things that we can do. And then of course, in prevention generally, there's what we call primary prevention, where you don't want it to happen at all.
Yes.
Then there's secondary prevention. It has come, but you try to prevent complications. And then of course there's tertiary prevention. So these are things you can do to prevent hypertension. But like we said, life is nature and nurture. You do some things, but eventually these things can still happen. Your blood pressure can still go up. So when it does go up, you don't have to be angry with yourself. Oh, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I try to exercise, my blood pressure has still gone up. So I see patients like that, and they're angry. Why would my blood pressure be high? Why would I have this thing despite all I am doing? Yes, you can still have it because it's a combination, environment and genetics. So, but if it does happen, you do all these things in addition to taking medications, and then you can help to prevent complications of hypertension from happening. So, just to conclude again, that to prevent, we will try to be more physically active. We will try to modify our diet by taking less calories. We try to take less than we use, or just not in excess of what we use up.
Yes.
Cut down on alcohol, stop smoking, exercise more, reduce our stress levels, try to sleep more, and then of course the government has to help us, because I can't be thinking of school fees all the time, and then I'm trying to prevent blood pressure. You know, what
Very
goes is zero.
We'll talk more about government as we go along. Now, Dr. Tokolo, you are a consultant for a family physician. In the midst of this economic austerity, as I pointed out, how can families manage their situation? And are there particular members of family that are more vulnerable to coming down with hypertension?
When you talk about hypertension in the family, there are several factors that can enable a person in a family to be predisposed to hypertension if there is somebody in that same family that has high blood pressure. First, we go by genetics. As I explained earlier, that genetics is a risk factor. So if somebody has hypertension, in a family, do you have members of that family, that is children, siblings related to that person, also stand a chance of, also have a risk of having high blood pressure. Now, also when it comes to the family, you know that the family share the same pot. They also share the same risk factors. For example, if a family usually consume a lot of salt in their diet, even as they are growing up, they've been taking a lot of salt, it becomes part of them. And you know that increased salt consumption predisposes a person to having an elevated blood pressure. So these individuals in this family can be predisposed to be having high blood pressure. Even also other diets like low intake of vegetables or fruits, or even a high carbohydrate and fats consumption, which they're all sharing in the same family, can all predispose them to having high blood pressure. Also in the family, other factors like reduced physical activity, you know that in a family it has been seen that within the family they share the same, not only the same pots, but even the same activities and their response to activities as well. If a family that actually encourages exercise, you find that the children will grow up also doing exercise. They see it as a way of life. A family that is encouraging inactivity would also have children growing up with inactivity. And this is also a risk factor of hypertension.
All right. So, apologies to interject. The genetics you talked about here, which is to say, one can be born with hypertension. It can be a hereditary condition. If, for instance, your parents suffered, or one of your parents suffered the condition, Dr. Atokolo.
Yes, if one of the parents of an individual has hypertension, not necessarily the person will be born with hypertension. The person is at increased risk. Okay. As Dr. Idoko had said, that when it comes to genetics or when it comes to risks in a family, genetics is the gun, and the environment now loads the gun to fire. So you have both the genetics and the environmental factors playing. So if somebody has a parent that has hypertension, not necessarily the person may come down with hypertension. You understand? It's the environmental factors surrounding that person now added to the risk of that person because of one of his parents has hypertension. Now predisposes individual to have high blood pressure when compared to another person whose parents or who doesn't have any member of his or her family that has high blood pressure.
Now, Dr. Amai, talk to us about stress management within families, especially in these difficult economic times. As a family physician, you should be concerned on how families will manage their health so that we don't have any family member predisposing to high blood pressure.
Yes, as a family physician, we family physicians, we are interested not just in our patient, but the family as a whole.
Good.
And not just the family, the community of the person. Hypertension has a major role in the family, negative role in the family, just as the family also may be a predisposing factor to the development of hypertension as a result of genetics and the environment challenge. In the family, now that things are so difficult, especially financial status of families going down, families that we are even classified as middle class. I don't think there's anything like middle class in Nigeria anymore. It's either you're very rich up there,
very poor,
or very poor. So those that were then classified as middle class families are now down to the poor background. They are finding it difficult to even to feed. We are not even talking about school fees. Go to the hospital, people come to the hospital after prescribing the medication, the drugs they need. They will just say, doctor, I don't think I'll be able to, which can I afford now, at least to manage myself. Now is being spent on health, especially hypertension. That is very common now. A friend we were discussing, the friend said, Dr. Amai, do you notice that within these 2 years now, there's increase in cardiovascular health and mental health? Have you noticed that? I said yes. You sit in your consulting room, somebody come with a different complaint, the next thing you see that the blood pressure is high. Are you a non-hypertensive? No. You're just diagnosing it for the first time. That is an extra cost on the family. The person needs to start taking drugs because the blood pressure must have gone up to more than 160, 180 over 100, 120. The person, of course, after the second test, the person needs to commence medication. So monies that are supposed to be on other things will now be diverted to health. And for the fact that the economy is so difficult, Families that were functional families are becoming dysfunctional. What do I mean by dysfunctional family? Families that are having internal crisis, that is crisis between the parents and the children because of financial challenge. Mommy, I need my school fees. Mommy, I need money to get this. My classmates are getting this. Daddy, I need this. Mommy and daddy cannot afford, and then the children feel their parents are failing them. They need to turn somewhere else to get this money to solve that problem. The wife is on top of the husband's head. I need money to solve this problem. We need to improve in our diet. And then it becomes like a vicious cycle. Even after taking the drugs, the heat at home from the family is still affecting you. So it continues. So families are having a lot of challenges because of financial status, and it's affecting not just the man, but the woman and the children as well. The woman sleeps, she will not be able to sleep. Why? She doesn't have enough money. She's thinking of what the family will eat the following morning. Poor sleep is setting in. And that poor sleep is pushing her. It's a risk for hypertension. She's likely going to develop hypertension. And then we eat whatever we see. We don't eat quality anymore. We are eating just to live. Boiled yam with palm oil and salt in it. It's a meal. And some family for them it's a balanced diet that there's even oil for you to eat. It's affecting the family. And once it's affecting the family, poor sleep sets in, stress sets in, poor diet and everything. So what comes next? The hypertension or any other disease will set in. So the risk of hypertension on the family is becoming something else. Because the risk factors that gives hypertension are also found in the family. The community starts in the family. And once the family is unwell, the community is unwell, and the whole society is unwell. So, just as she said, from the pot, it starts. From the exercises, it continues. And then from the well-being, the functionality of the family also helps to prevent or to increase the risk of hypertension. So the government must step in. We have to pay school fees. We have to solve our immediate problems. We are not talking about wants. We are just talking about the basic needs. If the basic needs are being met, then the risk of stress will go down. Because for me, I think one of the major risk factors in our environment is the stress. Just as Dr. Idoko said, we sit for hours seeing patients. Some of these patients are not really ill, but the stress, the financial stress that is on them. This financial stress has entered into the family and is putting more pressure on them. They feel they cannot sleep. They are presenting in the hospital, and the doctor, the person seeing them, is also stressed up. So everybody in the country is stressed up, from the family to the community to the whole society.
Anyway, we need our families to be well. That is why we're bringing this sensitization, so that as you listen, at least you find a balance, a way of managing the situation, no matter how it is, so you don't present yourself with that condition. Now, Dr. Idoko, let's look at the policies, especially in terms of medications. When people come down with hypertension, they need antihypertensives. How affordable are they? And what can be done on the part of government to show proper management of citizens suffering this condition?
Well, like we said earlier, there are a number of things that can be done. It's not just what the individual can do, but the family, the society, and particularly the government. Government has a primacy for healthcare. Just like they have the primacy for education, they also have the primacy for healthcare. And they have to find a way to help. So since this government came, there have been some what I would call posturing and grandstanding. Why am I saying that? Because they said they are going to give drugs this exemption, they are going to try to reduce the price of drugs. But it's been 2 years, I mean, since the government came to power, almost 2 years now. But the price of drugs are not coming down, they are rather going up. So I think that a lot more can be done. Tax waivers can be given to pharmaceutical companies. Tax waivers can be given to drugs. Tax waivers can be given to hospitals. So you see, you are giving huge tax to hospitals. They also have to find a way to get their money back. They are giving a huge tax on drug importation on the pharmacies. They have to find a way to get that money back. So they just will keep increasing the price of things. They keep passing on the cost on to consumers. And that's not going to help. And it hasn't helped. And unfortunately, too, a lot of these drugs are not produced here. They are imported. And then the exchange rate is not in favor. So all these things keep going up. So it's like the society, what we are suffering to, the society has to be healthy for healthcare to be healthy. So if the exchange rate is 2,000 naira for $1, it's going to affect the drug price. So the government has to do something about the exchange rate so that drugs can be cheaper because they are coming from outside this place, and other things too can be better. So something has to happen about the exchange rate. Tax waivers has to be given to health-related hospitals and pharmacies and agents, people who work in that sector. And I also think that the insurance coverage is very low. Healthcare insurance is something that we need. So I was talking to one of my relatives recently who is pregnant, and I told her, I think you should get insurance ahead of time. Get national insurance. I think national health insurance, it used to be 15,000 per year to register ahead, but now it's about 30 something thousand, I think. It will be cheaper for you to pay 30 something thousand and have your cesarean section covered than when it gets to that time, it's time for cesarean section and you are struggling, calling everybody and doing all that. So the point I'm trying to make in essence is that there has to be an increase in insurance coverage, health insurance coverage. There is just no way around that. That's just the future. So national insurance, private insurance, they have to be more people taking up this. I think there was a policy that if you are employing a staff, you have to give them health insurance, which has not been enforced so much. And it can't really be enforced when the businesses are struggling to stay afloat. But at least for the government, every government staff should get a health insurance. That would really help, so that the insurance will have to take over the burden of these drugs. Another thing is, even when the insurance is there, the insurance companies feel they are not well funded. So there are some drugs that patients need and it's not covered. So it's not just getting insurance, but the insurance has to be effective and has to have extensive coverage. If you have kidney disease, for example, and you need dialysis 3 times a week, the insurance will not fully cover. It will only cover some and leave the rest with you. So we need health insurance. We need something to be done about the economy. We need the government to encourage production locally. And that would mean you have to invest a lot more in healthcare. So you wake up every day and you look at the budget. There is a budget of, say, 30 trillion, and what is coming to healthcare is 2 trillion. So what can you build out of it? Nothing. I know the state government is doing a lot, especially with the teaching hospital, for example. They had a budget of 140 something billion for roads recently. And how much is for healthcare? I don't think they have a budget of 14 billion for healthcare this year. So not even up to how many percent? We are not investing in healthcare as much as we are investing in other things. So we need to invest a lot more in healthcare, a lot more in infrastructure, in development, in research. The government needs to invest a lot more in that. And they need to encourage people. There's a dearth of healthcare workers, but it's even worse. If I am accord, yes, you can get access to doctors, you can see consultant this, consultant that. Just step 1 hour from here to Boku, or step to Utukpo, and see if you will see one consultant. If you will see, you will not. Even to see a doctor is a problem. So we have a problem. We have a healthcare worker crisis, not just doctors, but nurses, pharmacists, they are not there. People are just going to die. There's an emergency in the health sector, and that has to be identified, that there is a crisis, there is emergency in the health sector, not just hypertension. But we are in trouble. I fear for the country. I fear for this country. For example, in this state, for example, if you need a CT scan now, there's nowhere you're going to get that. Not even in the teaching hospital. How much will you get a CT? For less than $1 billion. How much are people dashing around? How much are they doing? So the priority on healthcare is not a priority, unfortunately. I don't know why, but we need to get a place. We need to put more priority on healthcare. You go to a hospital, it should even be refreshing entering there. Teaching hospital is better now. It looks, the aesthetics is good. But you go to most government hospitals and it's not good. I mean, it's not good. It doesn't look good. That's not how, if you see hospitals, even in Afghanistan, when you are seeing them, they're showing their hospitals are looking very beautiful. Hospitals, war-torn areas, even in Gaza, see their hospitals. But see here, hospitals are blue curtain buildings, places, terrible place to go. Sure, there are times I've had some patients admission in some government hospitals that will not call, and they say, no, they can't be in this place. This is not where a human being should stay. One patient has asked me to refer him to Abuja, not for that he cannot stay in this environment.
Because the environment should contribute to your healing process.
Yes, but no. Right. So we need a lot. Healthcare has to become a priority. See healthcare, see education. So the public schools has to be good, like she said, in the family. So now, somebody is thinking of, oh, I have a child in Bingham. The school fees is 3-point-something million. How much is the person's salary? Not up to that. So while the person too has done something by cutting beyond the person's power, you send your child to Bingham when you cannot afford it conveniently. So you are going to have high blood pressure. You are going to have complications from it.
We don't encourage people to do that.
Yes, but the person will tell you that if I don't send my child to Bingham and my child goes to University of Jos, where I school, the child is going to spend 10 years or how many years? So the government has to put all these things in place. It's a whole lot. It's a whole lot that can be done. If the society is well, then we have a lot of our people will be well. So yes, I'll do my own part, and the government has to do its own part. You have to train more doctors. You have to admit more people in the universities. You have to encourage. So it's everything is a chain. When our teachers are not happy, then you can't produce people. So now people are in school, they can't even train good people. The health workers coming up are not, the quality of care is poor because the person training them is so hungry, he cannot sit down to do any research, he cannot sit down to do proper teaching.
All right.
So it's sad, it's sad. I feel really sad about it.
Okay, at this point, we'll take a short breather. Kindly stay with us, and when we are back, we'll start engaging with you, the listener. welcome back from that short break, and thank you for staying with us. If you are just joining us, you've been listening to Perspectives on Agate Radio, 95.5 Star FM Makudi. We're giving a sensitization on hypertension and cardiovascular health. And this is the time for you, the listener, to contribute or ask questions on what we're discussing. The number through which you can reach us is 0814-335-9292. The number once again is 0814-335-9292. Once you connect with us, we'd like to know your full name and where you are calling from. Then you make your submission. Kindly keep it very brief. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning, Nathaniel.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm Eda Hyacinth, the hand between from Guma, local government of Benue State.
Thank you, Eda Hyacinth, for joining us.
With my regards to the expatriates from the health department.
Thank you, the experts. Thank you, sir.
This issue of hypertension, high blood pressure, is actually prone to with the aged people like this. However, I have a series of questions, then I will have a suggestion. The question number one is the exercise that is entailed by discussion. Myself, as I age at 69, I still enter into farm digging. Is that an exercise a satisfactory one for the prevention of the hypertension? The other question is for the hypertension. I don't know there's a specific blood group. Blood group A, B to O, which one is actually more prone to the infection of this hypertension. Then I will answer. My suggestion comes like this: I want the government and some able individuals that at least step up medical outreach for their communities, especially world levels, at least once in a year, so that thing we shall contain from that is deadly and slow killer disease.
Thank you very much, Eda Hyacinth Ahembe. We appreciate you for calling in. We'll respond to your questions as we go along. That's the engagement we want on the program. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning, Nathaniel Nongo.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
This is Solomon Pekes from Uday in Guma local government.
Have you joined us, Solomon?
Thank you very much. My regards to the health workers in the studio this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please, I want to suggest that if the couples want to get married, they should go for background check so that they will know the status of the mother-in-law and the father-in-law. Because if you are saying it's genetic something, so let's avoid it. So myself, I cannot allow somebody who will cook for me and ask me not to eat salt because he or her is suffering for hypertension. So I advise that the family should just check itself. If one, the mother or the child is already affected and suffering of it, should avoid it. I'm not saying we should keep them isolated, but let's just avoid it for unborn children not to suffer it. Just like a HIV victim should marry a HIV victim. I'm sorry for that, but I'm just giving so we get ourselves understand. Thank
Solomon,
you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate you for calling in. In any case, I think the context of what the doctors are, they didn't discourage eating salt, or maybe cutting down its intake, not much of it. And for status check, I'll allow the doctors to respond to that. But thank you all the same. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
You are speaking with Tekula Haje from Batia in Boko local government area, Benue State.
Thank you, Tekula.
Thank you so much. Greet the guests which you used in studio.
Okay, we greet you.
Thank you so much. You know, this is because I didn't catch you on starting. I don't know whether you discuss the simple causes of this hypertension and solutions. I don't know. And of this hypertension, and if there is any solution. Thank you so much.
Take care. We appreciate you. Perhaps, like you mentioned, you joined us and you missed out on that part. But if we have time, we'll give a refresher on that point. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Nathaniel.
Welcome to Perspectives.
My name is Vincent Idio Ena. I'm calling from Abetembayion, Boko local government.
Okay, go ahead, Vincent.
Yes. I must greet the panelists in the studio. They have explained everything there, and it's welcome. I will go like this. Hypertension per se is a dangerous disease that can kill. And their causes, its causes sometimes can be from stresses and all of those things that happen within someone. So our government has the primary responsibility to take care of this. If you take a look at what is happening in Nigeria now, it is causing some people hypertension. From the era of subsidy, take a look at our health system. It has dilapidated. Then our government has to train and retrain doctors. Our doctors are moving out of this country because they are not having an enabling environment to practice what they have learned. So they have decided to go overseas and leave us here alone. And then the hospitals will improve, people will be happy, everybody will go on to his or her normal business happily, hypertension will be reduced. So what we don't have, let us not think big when we are small. Let us manage what we have to reduce all the stresses that we have so that hypertension will be a thing of past.
Thank you very much, Vincent. We appreciate you for calling in. Thanks for your submission on the program. 0814-335-9292. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning, Nathaniel.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I salute all the discussants and the studio there.
Okay, we salute you too.
My name is Sunday Ochiu.
Yes, sir.
Yes, hypertension is a serious disease that kills and then give us a stroke. I'm a victim since 2012. I've been managing myself. My advice is that anybody who has diagnosed hypertension is supposed to be serious with his medications or her medications. But nevertheless, I want to appeal to the federal government, and them are very expensive. And that is a drug you take daily until your lifetime. Because if you stop it, it will generate into another sickness which kills. So I'm appealing to the government, as they are subsidizing other drugs, let them do it for us, so that it will take our life. Well, I know that God is the owner of our life, but God says you should help yourself before He helps you. So that is my next appeal. Let government come step in to subsidize those drugs, so that we will get it. Because those things are very expensive. You carry 20,000 to go and buy drugs per month. It's too exorbitant. So let them make it free for us as tuberculosis and HIV drugs. Thank you. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you, Sunday Ochiu, for calling in, and we pray for you. Continue to manage your situation. We pray the resources be there for you to get the drugs, afford to manage your condition. As you said, wish you the very best. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Mr. Nathaniel, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Perspectives.
My regard to your guest in the studio. This Odeode calling you. I'm calling you from Use, Zone 4.
To have you join us, Odeode. How is Use this morning?
Oh, thank God, everything is calm. My own is on the first aspect of, our personal life first. Sometimes we don't need to fix our eyes and minds and so much on the situation that goes on in this country. It's enough to give you attention. Now, when you look at homes, especially marriages. There are so many breakaway of marriages today that is giving a lot of hypertension, and then you're going to see people are under a serious torment. Maybe someone who has hand over his or her mind to somebody and life begin to turn upside down and thereabout. I think there is a need for us to see how we can be able to introduce counseling and guidance in our curriculums. If those things are available, and I'm not seeing the effectiveness of it in our schools, special institutions, those things should be in place also, where we can be able to place people, and then by the time you are stepping out, you'll be able to have one or two things to guide your life. There are many people today, look at suicide and other thing that is coming up, is as a result of this heart failure. And then how do we help ourselves? We help ourselves by introducing the virtue of discipline and guidance. And we should find a habit also to seek an assistance from people. When you are going through some certain things, don't keep silent. Seek helps. Seek helps. You are down, seek helps. Financially, seek help. Whatever that could make you to lose value for yourself, that could make you to lose weight, lose appetite for food, seek help. Don't be silent. So many people are dying because of silenceness. We should be able to speak out to where relevant authorities. Don't just speak out anyhow. Speak out to place where you can get a relevant assistance from. I think that is one of the things that will be able to give us a best solution to this problem. So, if not, we are focusing on government and government. My brother, I look at Rwanda that just came out from yesterday. Despite all their crisis and thereabout, go and see their health sector there. Go and see their education sector down there. Go and see their economy down there. It's booming, great. And I come back to see my country down here. A lot of funny things. So we should not focus our attention on those ones. Let's see how we can improve ourselves. Speak out when you are going depressed over anything. Don't silent in the office. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you for calling in. Thanks for your submission on the program. Of course, it's good enough that we have our family physicians on the program because we need a stability of the home, which we also talked about here. Breakup of marriages can also result to hypertension issues. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
Yes, good morning. My name is Tehideko. I'm calling from OGRA.
Good to have you join us, Tehideko.
Yes, sir. I have just a suggestion for our government because I want them to they should subsidize hypertension, all these drugs about we're talking about hypertension, and the drug is very high for mostly for the less privileged. As for me, my mother-in-law has the same problem, and whenever I go to buy some drugs for her, it's very hard. So for my opinion, I want our government to subsidize this thing for us, even if they cannot take good care, keep this thing for us. But at least they should subsidize the medicine, the drugs for us, so that at least for the privilege we can afford it. Thank you, and God bless Nigeria.
We appreciate you. Thanks for calling in. Government should subsidize antihypertensives to make them affordable for persons suffering the condition so they are able to cope. Hello, good morning. Hello. Oh, lost connection with you. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning, Mr. Latare Lungo.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm Engineer Sunday as I'm calling from Job Bank.
Good to have you.
Thank you very much for always bringing topical issues for your radio. It's helping the society. I appreciate it.
Yes,
and the doctors have spoken very, very well. I want to address something. There is a sister disease called hypertension, which is also very deadly. Can they also enlighten us on this? Hypertension, the sister disease to hypertension. Thank you very much.
Okay, Sunday, thank you. Well, anyway, I'll get the doctors to respond to that. But for today, we are discussing hypertension, which is the one that was observed over the weekend. But if there's anything like hypertension, as you mentioned, maybe they should chip in. Hello, good morning, and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for joining us.
My name is Michael Gadi.
Gadi, where are you reaching us from?
I'm reaching you from Gadi Layout, Makurdi.
Where?
Yeah. I want to appreciate our guests in the studio. They have been handling it very well. I just have a little contribution. I want to start with, I think, as they have been discussing, there's one part that is very, very important. So where individuals need to have their test kits too. They need to have their test kits so they can have personal tests, because sometimes they could be very engaged that even going to the hospital might be a problem. So test kit is very important. That should be also addressed as a way of sensitizing people. And then number two, I think the health sector too, the health system, they need to assist the people. Like one of my uncles who registered with the health insurance went to the hospital. He went there, and then at teaching hospital here, let me be specific. They said the health scheme, the insurance, the health.
Michael? Oh, quite unfortunate, we lost connection with Michael. But you have made your points all the same. You were about to talk to us about the insurance and network interrupted. Hello, good morning, and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning, Mr. Nathaniel and the wonderful guest.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, this is Ado Bartholomew from Gwel West.
Ado Bartholomew, which part of Gwel West are you reaching us from?
By Chohon Council Ward of Gwel West Local Government.
Very well.
To be kind, I want to thank you for this topic. You know, issue of hypertension, a poor man, this one is a rich man. Because most of these factors you've mentioned in the studio there. One, our lifestyle. There's every need. Okay, the lifestyle choice we live. Most of us, when we take our diet, we feel that, yes, I have the money and there is every need for me to eat whatsoever I want, not knowing that on the other way around, you are destroying that part of your life. So I am appealing to us to reduce the lifestyle we are living and the stress, no matter what, the problem we are facing. For instance, we in Gwel West Local Government, if not by the mercy of God, all would have been suffering from this disease called hypertension. Because there is no way for you to go to the farm, the government is trying her best. So on our part too, we should embark on regular check. You shouldn't feel sick before you visit the doctor. Check your system, check your blood pressure to know the level at which it is. And you should seek the advice of a medical personnel on your diet. Thank you. That is my little summation. Bye-bye.
Appreciate you, Ado Bartholomew. Thanks for calling in. And let's continue to cope no matter what the situation may be. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives. Hello. Oh, quite unfortunate you are on, but your voice is not coming through. 0814-335-9292. The SMS line is also available if you are not able to connect to the call line. Send us an SMS to 0912-699-9404. Good morning and thank you for joining us on the program.
Good morning, sir. You speak with Utua Isaac from Goma, Anchiha, City.
Isaac, good to have you join us.
You permit me?
You are permitted, please.
Because I ask, what causes blood pressure? Nevertheless, I hope it is a disease of the heart pitapa. But because doctors are the experts, I wish they should do it by protocol. I bring down the curtain on it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we appreciate you. Maybe you just joined us. Otherwise, your question, what causes blood pressure, is part of what we spoke about from the very beginning. But we'll do a refresher. Good morning and thank you for joining us on the program. Thank you very much for joining us.
Please, I am Hussein Yalwa.
Yero, where are you reaching us from?
I'm reaching you from Lagos Street, Vadata.
Well, talk to us, Husseini.
If there's any difference, that's the difference between hypertension and high blood pressure. If there is, that is one. And secondly, the doctors talked about or advised about taking food with advise us to take food with less salt, stop taking alcohol, fill with cool, or at least consume less, and some other things. But I want to know precisely this issue of calories. I want more clarification because I don't know them. So I want the doctor to explain more in details about this food with calories because they advise against with high calories content. So that is why I want to know about it, much about it. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you for calling in. We'll respond to your concerns on the program as we go along. 0814-335-9292. A few more engagements and then we'll come back. Good morning and thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
Good morning, Mark.
Welcome to the program.
That is the voice of Mark Anwanyi in the frontier of the local government.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. For me, it's the question and contribution. I would like to know the difference between blood pressure and hypertension. And if there is a aim of blood pressure can never take in terms of our human living, I may like to know. Generally, my contribution is focused on the community or awareness creation because in the rural communities, I think for the patients to maintain the affected areas of the diseases we are facing now, it's sometimes be difficult to them to know the danger of their disease that they can maintain it. But if their awareness is being created from the rural communities, I think the light will be more turned to the people in the rural communities so that they will keep on moving their lives. And I may like to advise those who are hypertension victims that they should reduce their thinking. Our doctors always tell us that you are an hypertension victim, you need not to be thinking much. So I'm rather advising them that they should influence the doctor's decision by taking their normal drugs and maintaining the will of the doctors. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate you for calling in. Okay, let's pause on the calls temporarily and come back. We'll begin with the concerns raised by the callers. Let me begin with you, Dr. Mai. The High Center Hembe wants to know if at his age of 69, the exercise of going to farm and all of this is suitable for him, and whether there are particular blood groups that are prone to experiencing hypertension.
Yeah, thank you for that question. At the age of 69, if you're still healthy, you're strong, you feel strong, going to the farm is part of exercise, is good for you, something you've been doing. And if you're still capable, why not? It's a good exercise. Once your heart can tolerate it, fine and good. When we are talking about exercise, going to the farm is part of it. What we want is what will make you, the heart to take it, that is what will make you feel like taking a breath, what will make your heart pump faster, what will make you sweat, what will make your whole body feel that there's a good flow of blood in the body, not just the heart, every part of the body, so that the heart can pump out blood easily and blood can return back into the heart for repumping. So going to the farm is not a crime. It's still good for you if your heart, if your energy can carry you. Yes.
All right. So also a component of his question, he was wondering if there are particular blood groups, blood types of groups that are prone to experiencing
blood pressure.
Yes,
no.
Blood pressure.
Having blood group O or A or AB or B, positive or negative, that is the results, has nothing to do with I have blood group O, so I'm prone to hypertension, or I have blood group A, so I'm prone to hypertension. We've mentioned the risk factors that are associated with developing hypertension, and those are the risk factors. It has nothing to do with the blood type pushing you towards hypertension. The risk factors we've mentioned are the risk factors. You having blood group A, I having blood group B, or him having blood group O or AB does not prone anybody to having blood pressure. It has nothing to do with the blood group, but it has everything to do with the lifestyle we talk about. That is your diet, your activity, not being active, eating diet that are high in salt, eating diet that are high in cholesterol, that is fats, taking alcohol, smoking, having poor sleep or not having enough sleep, and then stress and other risk factors. So these are the risk factors we've mentioned. And the unmodifiable ones we talk about as you're aging, being from the black race, and then having a family history of hypertension. These are the risk factors. Blood group has nothing to do with developing high blood pressure, which is also known as hypertension. Thank you.
All right. You want to add to that, Dr. Idoko?
Yes, I was going to say that there are some misconceptions that we need to address.
Yes.
This blood group thing, there are some persons that move around with something they call computers. So I see patients who come to me, they put a computer and it showed everything in my body. He said my blood group, I'm at risk of this, I'm at risk of that. So when people ask some questions, it's because of what they are being told from the side, which at times can be louder than what is in the mainstream,
yes,
or what the doctors are saying. But I know that a lot of people go around with some kind of machines, and then they will see the machine, they will give them a whole list and say your blood group, this problem, this one, this problem, cholesterol, this problem. So there are a lot of misconceptions and fallacies being perpetrated by people who are quacks, who are just out to make money. They come on the internet, they say, take this thing, it will cleanse your blood vessel, it will do this. That you look at them, one of my patients bought one, 70 or 80,000, and brought it, and it's just a multivitamin. It's never going to clean your blood vessel. So some of these things are misconceptions, misinformations, fake news, like they say, call them.
Here on Agate Radio, we don't peddle fake news at all.
Yes,
No, I'm only.
So, but it's good that he has asked the question, and I'm sure there are many others.
Yes.
Yes, many others.
Good. So, at Hyacinth, I believe we have addressed your concern. Now, Dr. Atokolo, Hussein Yerewa wants to know, I think there's just a matter of maybe his understanding. He wants to know if there's a difference between a high blood pressure and hypertension. And what are those kinds of foods that are high in calories that should be avoided? He wants to understand those kind of food that have high content of calories, what the calories mean. Simplify it in a way that we understand. Dr. Atokolo.
Okay, so difference between hypertension and high blood pressure. High blood pressure is actually a layman term of hypertension. It's a way to make you understand what hypertension means at a glance, even without too much education or anything. So you say high blood pressure, it gives one the knowledge that the blood pressure is high. That is also the same thing as hypertension. So it's just a colloquial name for hypertension. That's high blood pressure. You talked about the calories.
Yes.
Yes, calories are units that are converted they are units of energy which you find in food, if I should explain it that way. For example, you may, if you go to a supermarket and you pick up, or even a shop, and you pick up some food, packaged food, you see that they write something like calories on it, and sometimes it means something like energy. They write some figures and all that.
Yes.
It only estimates the amount of, shall I say, energy that can be gotten from a particular food group or a meal. Now, when we said food less in calories. I don't know if we actually talked about calories. But anyways, the important thing here, the take home here that is very important is that one must eat a balanced diet. And you know that balanced diet consists of the various food groups, both carbohydrate, proteins, fat and oil, mineral salts, water. Now, what we're advocating is the reduction of some of these. I know we didn't say you should stop completely taking calories dense meals. It's only to reduce the consumption of calories dense meals. But there are things those are carbohydrates. So you have yam, rice, potato, all that. But there are particular food groups that we encourage one should abstain from or reduce as much as possible. That's where you have things like trans fat, that can be got, and trans fat and what's the other one? Like saturated fats. These are ones that are gotten from fried things, from fried things and from baked goods, So these ones are harmful, if I should put it, harmful to the body. These are the ones that we rather advocate that should be reduced as much as possible. Okay.
All right. So I believe Hussaini, we may have clarified that. I think his was closely, Mark Wangbende's was closely related to the issue of high BP and the difference in hypertension. So I believe we have addressed your concerns. So you get to understand the context of what we are talking about better here. We'll engage with a few more calls before we come back. But just before that, let's take some messages we have coming in here. This one says, I appreciate you, Nathaniel, Get Radio, and the medical experts in the studio. Thank you so much for this program. Many listeners are probably getting this level of rich and valuable information on hypertension for the first time. It will certainly save many lives. You have done your bit. With ICT and artificial intelligence, I'm sure government can also adopt innovative ways to disseminate information on disease prevention to the majority of the people through mobile phones and other devices. Thank you. Gabriel Onyilo from Honor Occupier Extension in Makudi. Gabriel Onyilo, thank you for your message. We appreciate you. Good morning, sir. I am John from North Bank. My BP is 110/65 for years now. Is it okay? I am 45 years now. Thank you, sir. Okay, John. All right, now, Dr. Idoko, respond to John pointedly. You listen to the message I just read.
That's a very normal blood pressure. So usually, your normal numbers in human beings usually is in ranges. So usually,
but anyway, my BP is 100. Okay, over 65 for years now. Okay, I got the 65 as his years. Okay, he's actually 45 years old.
Yes, I got that.
Very well.
So usually numbers in the body, there are ranges.
Okay.
So usually the ideal systolic blood pressure should be between 110 and 110 to 139. But 139 these days is considered high blood pressure in some quarters. So, but if we're using our WHO, so we can say 110 to 139. It's what you would say not hypertension, normal blood pressure, over 60 to 85. So 89 if you're using that 140, but the values around between 135 and 139 is high normal already, and 85 and 89 is also high normal. So strictly speaking, I would say that normal blood pressure would be between 110 and 135 over 60 to 85. Now, there are other people too who have less than 110 and it's normal for them. So we define low blood pressure when our hypotension at systolic blood pressure less than 100, but diastolic blood pressure less than 60. So, but then it's still the Gaussian curve 95%. There are still some normal people who have 90 over 60 or 90 over 60 as a normal blood pressure. So the blood pressure he has said it's very normal for him.
Okay. Yeah. So John, worry not. You are in the same numbers. it's good that you have known your numbers, like the doctors will say. Now, Dr. Idoko, you the concept of hypertension or potentials you mentioned. One of the callers, Doctor, I think somebody from North Bank, Akpa was mentioning. Sunday Akpa was mentioning whether we should enlighten or is there anything like hypertension? I'm not a doctor,
Yes,
so I mean.
hypertension.
Okay.
Hypo means low.
Hypotension.
Okay.
Tension means pressure.
Okay, so
Yes.
the is it potentials or something? There was something he meant.
Hypotension.
Tension.
Yes, tension.
Tension.
Hypotension. Hypertension.
Okay.
Means the blood pressure is high. High
Okay.
blood pressure.
Yes.
Hypotension. Low blood pressure.
Okay.
Yes.
So that hypotension means low blood pressure, right?
Yes.
So I think that is what Akbar wanted us to explain.
Yes,
so does that also connect to hypertension, the hypotension?
Hypotension is a different thing, like we said. It's high blood pressure is hypertension. Low blood pressure, hypotension. So
Yes.
your blood pressure is low.
Yes.
And like I said.
So when it is low, does
Yes.
it also pose a health risk?
It's a health risk.
Okay.
It's a health risk because low blood pressure or hypotension can cause cardiac arrest. It's one of the reversible causes of cardiac arrest. So it can make your heart to stop if your blood pressure is low. When your blood pressure is low, your heart would divert blood and sacrifice some part of your body. Your kidneys, your intestines will pay for it because it will prioritize the brain and the heart, just the important things, critical things to keep you alive. Just like when you don't have money, you want to focus on food and healthcare, you will leave clothes and all that. So the same thing the body does. When the blood pressure is low, it will sacrifice some part. The kidneys, number one, to shut off the number of blood going, the amount of blood going there, and just focus on the brain and the heart. But then if it's too low, if it continues like that, then the heart can stop. The heart will have a cardiac arrest. But I hear a lot of people say that hypertension is worse than hypertension. I don't think that's exactly correct, because most of the problems we have related to blood pressure are problems related to high blood pressure and not low blood pressure. But yes, low blood pressure can occur and it can be a health problem. When the systolic blood pressure is less than 100 or the diastolic blood pressure is less than 60, so the person has hypertension or low blood pressure. It can arise from a number of health conditions. It can arise from what we call Addison's disease. It's a rare disease. It can make your blood pressure low. It can arise from taking too much of hypertensive medications. That is just too much. So because of that, some persons don't want to take the drugs for high blood pressure because they feel that their blood pressure will go low. And it's a bigger problem for them than the high blood pressure. So generally, that is why when you are taking blood pressure medication, it's not just for you to start the drug and disappear. You also need to be followed up so that the drugs can be titrated. If they are taking 2 drugs and you come and your blood pressure is going low, I can reduce one, or we can give you a drug holiday for that period and see how the pressure is. So at times, just the way you can take your medications and your blood pressure is not controlled, you can also take medications and the blood pressure is too controlled. So that's why you need to be followed up as you are taking the medications too, so that you get the appropriate dose of medication and appropriate number of medication. So that's another thing. There are infections too that you have septic shock, what we call septic shock. Your blood pressure can go low. If your heart is not working well, you have a dilated cardiomyopathy, your heart is big and it's not pumping well, your blood pressure too will go low. So those are all things. So when you have low blood pressure, the number one thing will be, why is this person having low blood pressure? Is it a heart disease? Is it an endocrine disease? Is it medications? So you address all that. So yes, they need to be also evaluated, but it's important to know that a small percentage of the population might just have that as normal. So even the same thing with high blood pressure, even though we say 140/90 is the cutoff for high blood pressure, and the American Heart Association is now using 135/85, hypertension actually is the level of blood pressure at which hypertension specific changes begin to occur, such that somebody can have 130 and their heart is already big. The walls are, that's using layman term now. I don't like to use the big heart. Like people come to you and say, my heart is enlarged. What is that? So some persons can have 130 and they have a stroke. Another person will have 200 and they don't have a stroke. So the level of blood pressure at which hypertension specific changes begin to occur is actually what you should use as hypertension. But because you need a cutoff, a number that people can use all over the world and refer to, that's how we use that number. But then, so there's a level different for different people. So somebody has 150, the person will have a stroke. Another person has 170, and the person will not have a stroke. So a number of things, specific, different for different people. So the same thing, somebody have 100 and the person is dizzy and about to fall, another person will have 90 over 60 and they're walking and they're fine and all that. But in all, you just have to know your numbers. That is the starting point. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your blood pressure, then there's nothing to discuss.
All right. Now, Dr. Amai, this cardiac arrest and stomping, oftentimes it is witnessed in homes, in families, and even in workplaces. As a consultant family physician, talk to us, when it occurs, what should be the immediate first aid that community members or people around can render in assisting such a condition?
Yes, cardiac arrest is something that once it happens, within very few minutes, within 3-4 at most minutes, if something is not done, the person is likely going to die. In our environment, it's quite unfortunate. Even some of the healthcare workers, they don't even know what to do when they find themselves before such a condition. This is something that is supposed to be taught even in the primary schools. What one is supposed to do facing such a situation.
Yes.
First of all, the person that is to have that cardiac arrest is supposed to know the danger signs of cardiac arrest first, which we are not being informed from the primary level of our education. If one is to get to know what is coming, I think one will prevent it better. First of all, before cardiac arrest sets in, there are certain signs that set in. At times, pain in the heart, a sharp pain that is persistent, at times is intermittent, will set in. Some will present with dizziness, shortness of breath, that is difficulty in breathing, cough. Meanwhile, you don't have cough. And it comes like that. Some you see them hitting their heart, especially the left breast, hitting it. Some will grab it and be doing these are signs. Some will feel a choking sensation. Some will feel pain in their calf, that is their lower limbs.
Yes.
Maybe one or both. Some will say it extends even to their low back, to their abdomen, then it's radiating up to the chest with difficulty in breathing before they slump. Some while on bed, some while carrying out activities, some just walking, then they feel it and then they give up. Some even while driving. So when they fall, what next is to be done? First, the heart, the brain is being deprived of blood. The heart is sleeping. The heart is not supposed to rest even for 30 seconds, even for 2 seconds. The heart is supposed to be working. Its work is to take in blood, push out, take in blood to purify, push out, purify blood continually, and that keeps you moving. So once the heart stop moving for few minutes, for few seconds, there's danger already. The next thing we are to do, what we are to do is to keep the heart moving, is cardiac pressure, applying pressure to the heart, to the muscles of the heart, to stimulate the heart to continue doing its function. It's a whole process for one to learn. It's not just what we can sit here and then explain to people. It's practical.
Yes.
It has to be learned practically. It's what you watch and you do. There's the way the arms are supposed to be positioned, the level of pressure to be applied, and what else to be next to be done. So this is what is supposed to be done, to be learned at the primary level, secondary level, and it's supposed to be a everyday training. It mustn't be just the health workers. Even the teachers in the class are supposed to know. Market women are supposed to know how to do all this cardiac massage. Because the heart is getting to the level of stop functioning, and we are to do what? To stimulate the heart to continue to function. That is all. It's a whole practical session.
Well, at least we hope that the insights you have provided should assist, because like Dr. did lamented about the challenge of healthcare workers, even in rural communities. Sometimes it could occur in a community where there is no doctor, and if there's an intervention, I don't know if at all a lay intervention may prevent a life from being taken away from such a condition. Yes. Maybe if you want to.
Yes, even the gadgets, yes. Even in some hospitals, you can't even find those gadgets that are needed for resuscitation at that primary level when the person is on the floor. Yes, even in some hospitals. Even in hospitals, will you find even more than one? Is it even functioning? That is it.
Okay, so I think that basically what she's trying to say is that
yes.
the resuscitation, before now, when we are growing up, they talk about the keys of life.
Yes.
And they talk about cardiac compression.
Yes.
Which actually can be done. So when somebody falls and is not responsive, not breathing, you can do the chest compression. At least, even if they don't know how to do it, anything they do at all might be better than pouring water and.
And in this era where yes. people are quite enthusiastic,
yes.
snapping images to share on social media. And
yes. So it's better to lay the person should lie down. Flat. You call for help.
You call for help.
Immediately you call for help. Ambulance for let's take to the hospital.
We don't have ambulance.
In between that time, they can do compression, cardiac yes. compression, just anything. At times, you can give a single fist bump on the location of the heart, which is the left side of the heart. So you can just hit the heart forcefully, and at times the heart can get back to start pumping, and then they can give the person respiratory breaths too. But these days, ideally, what you do is that there should be AEDs, what we call automated external defibrillators. So if you watch football, if you were watching the Euros, was it the last Euros, when Christian Eriksen, also, he collapsed on the pitch. I think they used a defibrillator. Yes. So there are other footballers, they had to shock them to restart the heart. So basically, you do that to restart the heart.
Yes.
And then you continue your compression until you get to a hospital to do the other things that you need to do. So ideally, you need defibrillators, these automated ones. Anybody can use it. That's why it's called AED, automated external defibrillator device. It will tell you what to do. It will tell you where to put the parts. It will tell you where to press and where to apply the shock to restart the heart. So every public place should have a defibrillator. So I was speaking with the Commissioner of Health late last year, and I was telling him, we need to do this. We need to do this. Public places, people gather in a hall. You have a hall for a wedding. There has to be a defibrillator. That's the right thing. That's the right thing to do. You have a whole conference going on, and there is no defibrillator anywhere. And it's a standard sign for defibrillator. Everybody should know where the defibrillator is, the AED is. Because it's automated, anybody should be able to use it. Just on it and it will tell you what next to do. So it's part of basic resuscitation now. But because you don't have that, instead of videoing the person falls, you do the chest compression. Compress the heart is on the left side of the chest. So you compress that place. Of course, people should be trained. The curriculum should have it. Primary schools, secondary schools, they should know how to do the compression. But in the interim, anything at all is better than nothing. So compress the heart, hit the left side of the heart, apply compression, press, give some breath, and then of course call for help. And you just can buy the person some time to restart the heart. Yeah.
All right. We wish we could accommodate more costs, but unfortunately our time is up. The line has been buzzing, but we're not able to accommodate more because we are fast running out of time. Now, Dr. Atukulu, in terms of getting gadgets like some of these checks or machines for one to check their own blood pressure on their own in their workplaces or at homes, is it advisable, and does it produce a reliable result? Briefly in 30 seconds.
Yes. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. Their, should I say, yes, their blood pressure monitors. We have the electronic blood pressure monitors that one can acquire and use to monitor their blood pressure at home. We even advise people who have done their numbers and done their blood pressure check, we've confirmed to be high blood and to be hypertensive, to even have these monitors. It enables them to track how their blood pressure is changing, even with the medications and all that. So it's advisable to have the monitors. But however, there are some drawbacks, Some of these monitors, not all electronic monitors are for home use, if I should put it that way. There are some electronic monitors that are designed to be used in facilities, though we don't really have that. And you see that sometimes we even use facilities, then monitors are supposed to be for home use in the facilities. These monitors, of course, would not last as long. Also, the make of the monitor too. You have to be able to trust the brand in which you acquire. There are some monitors that over time, probably because of big battery, may not give you the accurate blood pressure monitoring. So it's advisable, even if you have a blood pressure monitor, you should still come for regular follow-ups. So you can also have your blood pressure checked and monitored in the hospital, where we have the mercury sphygmomanometer. In our environment, that's still our standard, our gold standard. The mercury sphygmomanometer is going to be used to check blood pressure and follow up for that person, so that if the blood pressure taken at the hospital and the one taken at home, there is a variance, we can be able to investigate, see if there is something wrong with the monitor at home, and then maybe provide solutions on how to correct that.
All right. Dr. Idoko, our time is no longer there, so I'll just give you 30 seconds to give your parting words on if there's one policy you recommend for government to implement to improve management of cardiovascular health of citizens. What would that policy be? Just in 30 seconds.
When you say one policy, there are more than multiple policies. But I think that if you say one policy that will have great impact will be health insurance. I think with health insurance, people can access care, people can access their drugs, and then they can do their follow-ups when it's known that, okay, they don't have to pay. So government health insurance will be important. And then, of course, strengthening the health system from the primary level, secondary, tertiary level, investing a lot in healthcare. They just have to invest in healthcare, not just in facilities, but in manpower. We have debt of both manpower and facilities. So I would advise, you say one, but I would say two. One, anyway, basically, it's actually one, is investment in the health sector.
All right. Yeah. Dr. Mai, on the family front, what can be done to mitigate to ensure early detection and control of hypertension or cardiovascular related health issues? In 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. At the family level, I would advise the wife, remind him, he's the head of the family. What is your number? Make sure he knows his number, and make sure you know his numbers as well as your number. For every adult child you have in the house, a child who is more than 18 years, encourage the child to know his or her number as well. Things are difficult, but together we can overcome. Encourage him encourage her. A good family forms a good community and a good society. So we, the family, can overcome hypertension. The wife will encourage the husband to keep his numbers in a good shape, and the husband will encourage the wife to keep her numbers in a good shape, and the society will keep their numbers in good check.
All right, and that would be a fine place for us to leave it on today's edition of Perspectives, which are sensitization on hypertension and cardiovascular health. Let me appreciate a consultant cardiologist at the Federal Medical Center, Makodi, Dr. Patrick Idoko, You joined us on this edition. Thank you very much, Dr. Idoko, for coming.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Grace Atokolo is a consultant family physician at the Benue State University Teaching Hospital. Thank you, Dr. Atokolo, for your valuable insights.
Thank you for having me.
And Dr. Doshima Amai is a consultant family physician at the Federal Medical Center, Makudi. Thank you so very much, Dr. Amai, for your valuable time and the insights you have offered.
Thank you.
Dear listener, that's our program today. I Get Radio Care About Your Health, and that is why we have chosen this issue in line with World Hypertension Day this week, which was observed over the weekend. Join us on Wednesday for a fresh edition of Perspectives. My name is Nathaniel Nongo. Have yourself a great week ahead, and please stay safe and be healthy. Goodbye.